Okay, wir sind gleich online eigentlich, sollten wir sein.
So maybe still have like 1 hour.
Okay, we are live.
We're live.
Oh. Exciting, exciting. We wait just a few minutes.
Yeah.
Here.
So tomorrow you have the first workshop?
9 o'clock, yeah. 9:30.
Okay. I really hope this is working.
Yeah. Otherwise we just have a nice talk, the three of us.
Otherwise, maybe we can.
If it's recorded, then we just put it online later. If it's not live, but it will not be in vain. It will not be for nothing.
Maybe some people will also give us feedback if they don't hear anything. So hopefully you can hear something.
Yeah.
I actually come from the side in this little picture, so I really warmly want to welcome you to the people who follow us on Instagram or watch this video on YouTube. I'm very happy to have you both here, Jan-Philipp Fruehsorge and Chinatsu Ikeda. Before we start, I would like to make a short introduction. Yeah, it's from with your dates or your, some stations of in your biography, maybe. So you came actually from Japan. You were socialized in Tokyo.
Osaka.
In Osaka. You were born in 1980. You live since 2008 in Berlin. And
2018.
18. I'm sorry, this is...
It's okay. No worries.
So maybe it's better you introduce yourself a little bit. So you beside your practice as an artist, you also teach in different schools and realize workshops. You studied in the School of the Art Institute in Chicago, and you had already in the US lots of exhibitions and spaces in Chicago and in Milwaukee also. Of course, in Osaka you had exhibitions, and in Berlin. I'm very happy to have you here, Chinatsu, and I hope maybe some more details Jan-Philipp Fruehsorge can ask Chinatsu and give us an introduction, give us an insight in Chinatsu's work. You also live in Berlin. You are a curator and an art historian. You made different exhibitions. You make different exhibitions. You're still now working on a conference regarding also the art mediation. So art mediation is a topic you have kind of both, I guess. And so you realized exhibitions in the Tokyo Art Museum, in Biennale Disegno in Rimini, and especially the Tokyo mentioned one. I think that's kind of the connection between you, maybe. So you had experiences, you had time in Japan, and you also teach and write about art, and you teach art and art mediation. So welcome. I will go back to the I will go in the background of the technical stuff, and I leave you
the stage.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Stina. thank you and Kunstverein Wolfenbüttel for this invitation, for the talk, to be here on the 3rd of Advent in lovely Wolfenbüttel that I actually have a familiar connection to because my uncle lived here for many years, and so I feel quite happy to be here in this city. And to be here with you, Chinatsu, because we know each other for quite some years, and I know your art, and to be able here to see this exhibition that is really beautiful and to talk about it as a great opportunity. So to start this talk, I just wanted to pick up a few things that Stine just said. So, born in Osaka, studied in the US, in Chicago, and now living in Berlin. That gives you really quite a very international, cultural perspective on things. You have the privilege to live or to have lived in different cultures and languages and cities, and having seen different arts practices and arts traditions. When we talk about this multicultural topic, subject, it's a bit tricky, I think, and I want to say we are a little bit dancing in a mining field when we do this, because we are always slightly on the danger of making generalizations. We talk about Japan as if there is one Japan. We talk about the West as if there is like one entity that everyone understands what the West is, or the East. So we know that we are talking about specific things, but also we know that we talk about something that is a historical cultural construction that we are not able to discuss all in detail. So just to make sure that when we talk about East and West and those things, well, we are aware that this is a tricky subject.
Yeah.
Japan and the West is such a huge subject because, as most people know, Japan for many, many centuries has been a closed country, and after the Meiji, or so different heritage that the West looked at this gem, this treasure, and everyone from the West that traveled since then to Japan couldn't resist this kind of magic, or this kind of being enchanted by the otherness of the cultural traditions. So, but also this transfer goes in the other way. Like you travel to the West, you study in the West, and you have, as I said, the privilege of the two perspectives. So, coming back to this exhibition, which is called WUNDERHAUS, which I find is a super lovely title. I really love it. And so you choose a German title because it's a German exhibition, but you could have also chosen a Japanese title. Yeah, have you ever thought about giving it a Japanese title? Something?
Not really.
No.
Yeah, I think that also shows my kind of multiculturalness. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, in this show, no.
WUNDERHAUS. Okay, but I think it's very beautiful because it. For the German ear, you have, of course, house, that is obvious. It creates something else that makes also reference to what we in Europe at least have, that was the cabinet of curiosity. Kunst- und Wunderkammer is the German term, and you have something like that here also in the region. Kunst- und Wunderkammer is something very typically was invented in the Renaissance, and it's the connection of arts and natural objects. And what you do here, and it's a kind of the first kind of museum, it's a kind of taxonomy of things, putting things together in a different order that would be not scientific, but like analogies of we're putting together stones, we're putting together strange shapes, strange materials, and creating this wonder. And what you do here is even if you maybe didn't want to do that in reference to what I just described. You created a kind of Kunst- und Wunderkammer by putting these beautiful objects, all made out of paper mache, together. There are plants, there are flowers, there are tea bowls, there is an enormous amount of instruments, and all breasts, like instruments, bizarre and beautiful things all together in that place. But when you heard you have this exhibition here, was your first idea you wanted to create something like that, or was it a small, or was it how was the step from the first approach to the show? Did you already know in the very beginning what you wanted to do, or no?
No, when I came here, I think I was surprised how big this space was, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then so I just started to think, okay, what can I do to make this space my space?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm actually working in a very small studio. It's an apartment. And I have this like small table, and then I'm making everything on this table, and then sometimes I work on the floor as well. And I'm thinking, how can I blow up, my work into this size? Like there are two rooms behind us as well.
Yeah.
And then I made a little diorama of this space, and I started to think, okay, the first word it came to my mind was containment.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a box.
Mm-hmm.
But then box, I always think about boxes in how it's like a you open up the box and then lots of
like a
surprise.
gift or
Yeah, exactly.
a present. You open it and then
yeah,
there's
exactly.
something beautiful inside it.
Yeah, like something pops up.
Yeah.
That's the image I got.
Mm-hmm.
So then, okay, so this is something. Maybe I could do something with that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just started to slowly develop my ideas with this diorama. And then, of course, diorama is small, so I was kind of playing around with fabric, and then a yellow, and then I drew something on the on the wall, and so then this is what I want to do. So
like a little gift box turned into an exhibition space.
Yeah.
Where people are encountering things to wonder about, or to be surprised,
Exactly.
or to seduce, or to discover something that they didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they see things, and for the people who haven't been here, it's 3 rooms. Every room has a different color on the floor. In the room we are now sitting, as you can see on the wall, also there's a very bright, very intense yellow, and there's a room with a green floor and a white floor. So we have these 3 colors, and then there are objects, shelves made out of paper mache, and also drawings, watercolors on the wall, and then these musical instruments. But the color of everything is very bright, very joyful, very very intense, and it's funny because there are so many ways of talking about color when we look at Japanese art and muted colors. It's very alive, very vivid, very joyful. Is that a color that you? I don't know how came you up with those colors?
Maybe since I was a child, I was growing up looking at neons in Osaka City. I mean, maybe that might have been a natural reaction to my choice of colors. But at the same time, I liked vibrant colors. So I was wearing something like red and yellow and blue when I was a child, and then my cousin, saw me and said, "You're Sesame Street. You always look like Sesame Street." But then I was like, okay, yeah, sure. And then I went to America, and then that was also natural. And then I think it just came naturally, I think.
Yeah, you've never been attracted to this muted colors.
I love them.
You love them, but not for your own work.
Yeah, but for now, but I would like to use them in the future. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we are curious.
I'm curious as well, actually, like how I do that. You know, do I have a good understanding of these colors?
With your watercolors, you already are on the way to a little bit less intensity because the liquid state of the watercolor blurs it a bit and makes it less crying, less strong. I was reading on the train to Wolfenbüttel, say Schonagon,
right.
11th, 12th century courtyard lady who wrote this wonderful book about things that are beautiful, and it's like a list, it's like a catalog of things she observes in the courtyard, and there's a lot of things that she finds beautiful or wonderful. It's also a term, like she's full of admiration for colors, and she describes textiles, but she also describes nature. And she said, what is wonderful is a garden in snow. Now we have a little bit less snow here, but it's interesting because nature is such an important part of Japanese understanding of art and culture. Well, in Europe as well, but in Japan in a different way. And when we talk about your art, and we see a lot of flowers, and you brought nature into that room, but you turned it also by reproducing them in paper and in cardboard into something else. But it's also an indoor garden. And we talked about the difference of space between the East and the West, and you told me that you were thinking of this very famous temple in Kyoto, Inkabuchi. Yeah, that is also beautifully located in nature, like how this architecture is embedded in nature. And I think that's something maybe you could explain a bit, like how that shaped your understanding of architecture, space and nature, like the indoor, the outdoor, something like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, Ginkakuji Silver Pavilion totally inspired me to create this show. So when I was in this garden, they have the garden, and I don't know, it's just, when I was there, I felt like I was inside and then outside at the same time, and then I was outside and inside at the same time, because there is a section of the garden where there are like walls, but it's not containment, and then just it's not a fake wall, but it's just there's a wall and also sliding window, and then you can look outside from this window. And then that gave me a feeling of endlessness. I felt very much like in Cosmo or something that made me feel, again, like Wunder, really. And then I think this garden is not that big, but then I felt endless. And I was thinking, okay, I could do something like that with this space. So I wanted to create inside, outside space, and outside and inside space at the same time. So it's kind of like borderless, where the border is where the nature starts and then where the interior starts.
Actually, I have a picture that is not Ginkakuji, but that's Villa Katsura, another very famous building in Japan. And I just try to look to show it into the camera. I don't know, does this make sense? Yes, okay. Or here as well. We see that. Just to see the beauty of like this open sliding doors that open the space, and then you really feel like you're inside the garden, you're inside the park.
Yeah.
The park comes inside the house, and also the flexibility of the sliding doors. That every space in Japan, in those houses, in these traditional houses, they're not like fixed. You really move the space for like how you need it. If you sleep, you change it. When
Exactly.
you eat, you change it. It's a very fascinating concept.
Yeah, like you're inviting outside into your private space, and I think that's for me. I have forgotten about this concept, but I think it's beautiful, and so I wanted to do something like that, borderless inside and outside space with my exhibition. Yeah.
And I like that we cannot show this because it's on the floor. So the carpets are strongly colored, as I just said. So we are in the yellow room, and then there's the white room and the green room, and at the doorsteps they are overlapping. So they are like little tongues leaking into the other room.
Leaking, lots of leaking.
And I like that. That also is a little bit a sign of the fluidity of things.
Yeah, that's true.
Things are not like very strict. So from one room into another, you have the color like a little wave that's
True, yeah.
streams into the other
circulation.
Yeah, exactly. And well, speaking of Katsura or Ginka Fuji, these are the famous architectures that, of course, everyone in the West has been fantasizing about and has been fascinated about. And it's interesting, we talked about this earlier, that Bruno Taub, the famous German architect who immigrated in 1933 from Germany because he fled the Nazis, and then he traveled to Japan and spent 2 months in Japan, and he discovered this imperial villa Katsura. And for him, it was a revelation. For him, it was like, I see Bauhaus before the invention of Bauhaus. Like the simplicity of the architecture and the modest materials that look beautiful, and the sense of details, and everything kind of made sense for him. That he saw something that he would like totally find as the main principles, like what Bauhaus wants, and that's fantastic. How this transfer already worked at that time, like this still are influenced by this kind of architectures and notions. Yes.
Yeah. No, but I after you told me about this villa, I actually Googled, right, and then. Yes, like I saw the parts of inside and outside, and I was thinking, yeah, like I'm feeling like I'm looking at Bauhaus a bit right now. So it's, I realized I've never been there, but then this time I'm going back to Japan and I want to try and check it out. Yeah, but
it's really amazing.
It's beautiful. Yeah, it looks beautiful.
Experience.
In pictures.
And you can go there in like little groups, so it's not like plenty of people, but like 10 or so. So you really can enjoy every building. It's like one main building and a couple of smaller buildings. And I remember there was one that is like a tea kind of pavilion and a window. And I remember that the guide said that looking through this window, you look at a little pond, a little lake, and it's made to be looked at the moon when the moon is the reflection of the moon is in the pond. Yeah. So this kind of level of sophistication is always like mind-blowing. There's an architecture, you look through a window and you look at the pond and there's a reflection of the moon. It's like, what the hell? But yeah, this is it's very beautiful.
It's like part of the picture that they designed the garden with the reflection, I guess.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah, that's...
And also interesting, and coming back to your exhibition, is when we talk about space and then we talk about time, a different kind of concept of time and durability, let's say, or something that didn't last or doesn't, it's not meant to last forever.
Mm-hmm.
You work ephemeral, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I remember in Japan there's this shrine of Ise, this very important Shinto shrine.
Mm-hmm.
And every 20 years the buildings are torn down and rebuilt. So there's nothing that exists forever, because there are also wooden buildings, but they're meant to be deconstructed, reconstructed all the time. And this permanent flux of things is very beautiful as an idea. But it, I think, helps to understand a bit like that a material like paper that you use that is so ephemeral and vulnerable and needs appreciation, because what counts is the gesture, the care. And if you create those objects that might not last forever, but they have this enormous sense of care and somehow they contain time. I don't know how you feel when you work with paper. Why have you chosen paper? I mean, it's one of so many materials.
Yeah, I mean, paper, I mean...
In a sculptural way. I mean, I'm not talking about drawings. Well, you make drawings too.
Yeah, I mean, the two things, I mean, I came to Germany in 2018 with this one suitcase with sketchbook and watercolor set and crayons and other, So I started out with like very simple materials, that's one. And then the second, I'm also making lessons for kids. I'm working for kids, making lessons, and I always work with paper. And I realized how sophisticated paper is through making lessons. And I actually, you take these recycled papers and you could do a ton of things with it and then make it something very beautiful and something magical. So, and then at the same time I was looking for ideas, and I found Picasso, guitar, 1912. He constructed, like, kind of sketched out cardboard and paper. He made this beautiful guitar, and I thought, okay, this is something I could do. I could incorporate the idea into my work, and so. I started to make this guitar with the cardboard like he used. And I made the first one. It was very fast. Just used everything like tape and then very, basic materials. And I don't know, I felt like something came out. And I started to push myself and do different kinds of guitars. And the next one was the Picasso's acoustic mosaic guitar, and then electric guitar, and then now I went into nature watercolor guitar, and then something goes on, ninja guitar, and then in the end the boobs came out. So in the end I made a parody with the guitar, and I just had a lot of fun with it.
and the audience has fun with it.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, I used things that was around. I mean, I used even toilet paper rolls, and I wasn't sure if that was like, okay, this is high art or what. And
well, we are living in the 21st century, and you really can use anything. That's the luxurious situation that we don't have any real kind of no materials is good enough or it's bad enough to not be used. Or something. I think the contrary. I think a lot of artists looking for something very simple because they are tired of using expensive materials or complicated materials. So paper and toilet rolls or whatever, cardboard is just so humble and basic. And as you work with kids also, I mean that's how kids discover the world, by cutting out and gluing things together. It's they don't use oil color or casting bronze. They do very basic things. That's the beauty of it, to kind of experiment, because you can fail and every failure is beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, that's why I think paper is great. Like you could just do anything that you want, and I mean, you know, you could just draw, or you could actually construct something into something massive even. I mean, yeah, I think I find paper great, like wonderful. Yeah. And
your heroes, like one is Picasso here in this show, the artist you make reference to, and another one is Matisse also.
Yeah, but let's say Picasso is not really my hero. Like I think he, I only like this era.
I mean for this show, not in general, but for this show.
Yeah, then with the guitars, and then he made some kind of very quick, kind of sketched out like sculpture. I like around that period, 1912 to 14 or something. Like he made something like a series of guitars and then other small objects with paper, cardboard and stuff. I'm very keen on these, yeah.
And with Matisse?
Matisse, oh yeah,
how
for
was your
sure.
relationship to him?
Shapes, I guess I studied a lot about shapes from him, and colors, of course, all the time, yeah. Also, like when I look at his paintings, like the studio, like painting of a studio in MoMA, I think, you look at it and you feel like you're in that room. That's also interesting. Just one single painting can do that. So yeah, I'm finding now that I'm kind of a space person.
Spaced away. Yes. And any other artists you would consider interesting in terms of space, or
I just space person. No, I mean not necessarily. I've looked at a lot of painters, mostly from the West, but at the same time, ukiyo-es it's a big influence on me. The waves, I mean Hokusai, Hiroshige, and Japanese paintings in general. And yeah, I think I'm interested in, attracted to paintings that had dramas maybe, like movements even. That, like for example, waves, that single picture has a kind of momentum, right? It looks like you're looking at a film.
It's like the very dramatic moments.
Exactly.
Where the boat is disappearing and the wave is crushing.
Exactly, and I think those Japanese ukiyo-es, I mean Hokusai, Hiroshige, I mean they're very good at capturing the dramas of the scene, and therefore I feel like I'm watching a movie, like a drama, a story.
An actual movie? Are you influenced by that? Do you have
lots of Akira Kurosawa's for sure.
Very dramatic.
Very classical. Yeah, but then dramatic sense as well, but also his compositional skills, choice, colors, his storytelling, with the picture, with the sound, with the story. I mean, everything seemed to be. Yeah, I don't know how he does that. He always like reach out to the climate so well with these senses, and he's great about creating that moment.
And with color too. I mean, even the black and white early ones like Rashomon and things like that are great. But I agree, the later Kurosawas, the colorful ones, the Ran or all those
Dreams.
They're really amazing.
Yeah.
But especially Dreams is also about art, where there's the scene about Van Gogh. Yeah. That's interesting. I wanted to talk with you about something else. We mentioned this when we had an earlier talk. It's your family and your grandfather as a source of inspiration, because, as I understood, he was not an artist, but he did art.
He was a wood
He
craft.
was a wood, So, well, in a way, he was an artist, but a wood crafts person, but also in all his way of thinking or living, he kind of gave you inspiration. I have the feeling when you talk about him, you talk about him full of admiration, and then you talk about that he was collecting dried flowers, or that he knew haikus, or something like that. I mean, traditional cultural
very
things,
traditional,
but important. That kind of informed your way of looking at things.
I think because when I was at my grandparents' house, he had a lunch break. He had a workshop in the house. And he came to us, like we ate together, and then after we ate together, I sat on his laps, and then I was just kind of looking around and then, doing stuff. And then there is a big book that was his diary, and then I flip over the page, and then there are pressed flowers inside, and then he was also writing haiku somewhere, and then I didn't know how to read. And I was thinking, okay, so I mean, these are dead flowers, but I understood that there was something beautiful. It was probably like 2 months ago, 3 months ago, but then, okay, so he embraced nature in this way, and then he taught me this is also beauty, the beauty in time, and then he Then I started to also mimic him a bit. I wanted to write haikus in my own baby language, and sometimes he gave me, that's great, 5 points or something like that. So that's how I kind of learned about my culture, I guess. I mean, I didn't think like that back then, but like now things are like, haiku is like, things to talk about as well in the West,
And then you moved to the States to
study fine arts,
I guess that we talk about this also, your Japaneseness, your heritage, your culture, all that traveled with you, and once you're in a foreign country, every one of us makes this experience. You are more kind of your own representative of your own nationality or your own cultural as you ever are before. Like, you don't think about it at home, but once you're abroad, everyone talks to you, you are the German, you are the Japanese, and then you, of course, sometimes feel a little bit embarrassed because everyone thinks you are specialized about your own tradition, your own history. You have to be knowledgeable about everything, and some people know more than you do, and so it's...
Chances are not.
That happens
all the time.
So when you went to the States, you kept your Japanese things as your baggage, but well, how was it when you entered like the US culture? Was it something that the Japaneseness became stronger or less, or was it at the same time there?
That's
or?
interesting. Japaneseness came stronger. I think so. As the time developed, when I just landed there, I didn't realize that I wanted to integrate into American culture and also school. I needed to learn English better, and so I was kind of busy with that first. Yeah. And then maybe after 4 or 5 years passed, I started to miss my culture more and more. And then I started to watch more Japanese TV shows and stuff that my mom, at that time she recorded it into a CD disc and I sent it to me. Okay. And I quite enjoyed that. And I started to rent out the Japanese classical movies in the library, and I watched it so much, so many of them. And that's how I learned about Kurosawa actually. Like I watch almost everything, mixed perspectives of the world. Like I could understand why Americans or Europeans talk about Japanese culture and then art at the same time. Like I can understand why it's so beautiful in a way. Like I got this Western glasses or lenses that I was able to look through. But then if I was in Japan and didn't go outside of Japan, maybe I didn't have that lenses. I'm not so sure. But
and when you moved to the States, did you move with the intention of maybe staying there?
Yeah, stay there. But then, things got difficult with the visas and everything in the end, and so it was not possible. Yeah. But I quite enjoyed it. Yeah.
And going to Germany instead of going back to Japan.
I was in Japan. Yeah.
Yeah, went back to Japan, and I remember you also spent some time in Italy.
But it was not that long. It's only like 3 months or 4 months in total. But then, it felt like a year or something. Yeah, that's also had a big influence. Yeah.
I guess so.
The mosaics.
That's interesting in that respect. Yes, that some of the works, if you look at them, not through the glasses of Japaneseness or modern America, through the lenses of antiquity and mosaic. That's
ruins as well, the space.
And but it was the first country in Europe you visited.
Yes, but then I think I went to Italy, Germany, and then Spain. That was my first time in Europe. And then I started to kind of continue traveling in this direction every year somehow.
And being in Germany now for quite some time, how do you think has that changed your artistic practice?
I don't think it's been so much of a difference. I don't know. I don't think so. It's not so much, I guess.
You already have your vocabulary. You haven't changed it since you came here.
I think it's just also sometimes the reason makes me inspired. Like if there's like the space that I could work for.
Like here.
Yeah,
then inspired you.
Yeah, in a way, like gives me some kind of ideas, or like I want to integrate that idea into my art practice. And then but I think I think that's also a part of it. When I think about my work. So like traveling became also a dialogue. I couldn't bring canvases or oil paints. Then I had to work with paper or some fabric or something. So that also became a dialogue in my work. So I think so. The purpose.
And I don't know about you have new projects coming up already, or let's say, no? Do you have something you want to particularly work on in the future? Is there a recent project that you started or will start after this show?
Well, what I'm thinking is now that I want to use some fabrics to make a painting and integrate to a space somehow, but it's not the not a typical painting. Maybe I want to kind of push the boundaries as well with this.
Collage, like.
Yeah, yeah. So, and I also kind of make a kind of space where it's kind of my world. Yeah, with my work like that. Yeah, but then now I'm thinking about fabrics a lot. And paint.
And when you think of objects that you are interested in, apart from musical instruments and tea bowls and teapots.
Tea bowls, of course.
But also there's a toothbrush, so objects of like
I don't know why, right?
Basic daily life.
Daily life stuff.
Yes.
It's amazing. I mean, they have
not valuable, just like ordinary things.
Yeah.
I remember once we talked about onsen culture, so the bath culture in Japan. That is a very important thing. And when I was there, I loved it. I mean, the public baths are amazing, and sometimes they are outdoor in beautiful landscape. And but it's a very specific
but in
Japanese.
Also, no?
Well, we have public baths, but I think nothing.
Sauna as well.
Sauna culture. Well, if you're Finnish, that is something else. To go to a sauna in Germany is, not so much of a kind of a national thing of importance. I heard they have more saunas in Finland than inhabitants, something like that. But in Japan, the onsen culture is something super interesting. We talked about that too.
Yeah, super interesting. And I really don't know much about because it just was my, something to do, But then, the bathhouses and towns, that's quite interesting. The culture that they have inside of the bathhouses is mosaics. It's very kitschy, like Mount Fuji mosaics on a wall. And then there are some rules, of course, that you cannot jump into the bathtub right away. You have to wash yourself first.
Yeah, that's what every foreigner is supposed
to know.
Don't wash yourself in the bathtub, wash before and then it's not about washing, it's about relaxing in the water. You wash before and then. But the bathhouse, I mean, in Europe, bathhouses have been a long tradition and have been also an important place of a social place where to meet. People sit in bathtubs and talk about politics, and it's a weird mix of, because you're naked in the water, it's of kind of a private space and a public space. So these spheres are mixing, and in Japan also they're separated to the gender, so there's a male and a female bathing room. So also there's a certain safe space where you maybe are just among your friends and you can talk and discuss I think this kind of it has a certain role in the society still, and it continues.
Yeah.
I remember you once said that you could be interested in working on that as a subject.
Yeah, I mean, I already painted that scenes before in my work, and it's and I was thinking a lot about the kind of not nude culture, naked. How do you say that? Naked culture? Nude culture.
Body concepts in general. I mean, that includes the naked body, the nude body. But I mean that also is a different thing in Japanese traditional history and cultural understanding.
Yeah, I mean, when people still didn't have bathtubs in their homes, then they just go to bathhouses and wash themselves, and sometimes they talk with the neighbors. Yeah, and then that was the idea. But then now we all have bathrooms and then showers in our house. And
but you think it's less important now because everyone is taking a bath at home? It's not as much like, or let's go to this beautiful onsen. Because when I was in Japan, I thought there are families and people going to a specific onsen, like a spa where we think, oh, this is near Mount Fuji or whatever, beautifully located. And it's a thing. You stay there one night and dinner, and it's a kind of way of traveling and spending time together.
It's a leisure for sure. Yeah. I think I'm talking about more like the more like daily bathhouses in town, whereas you're talking about the kind of more upgraded version of it, which of course, yes, we still love that. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe the next show of Chinatsu Ikeda will be an onsen show. Toothbrushes and bathtubs. Well, we
I don't know.
But I don't know if there's any questions from the audience, the public, online.
Yeah, there's one also regarding to the Japanese-ness a little bit. It's related to the tradition of calligraphy. Because you mentioned in the book of your grandfather and the different poets or poetry, Japanese tradition.
With my show?
In your work, in general.
Not really.
If you're interested in that, I think that's a question.
Okay. No, so far not so much, but I also brush strokes. Like if I see it as a picture, like calligraphy as in like a picture, then I am interested in the power of the power of brush strokes that they make. So I quite when I was studying in the United States, I looked at lots of calligraphies in this way. But then with the work, not so much. I don't think about them so much right now. But it could be interesting.
And maybe I have another question regarding to the art mediation or regarding to your work. Let me explain. Okay, the reaction of the people, the visitors who come here, they are, of course, because of the color and this energy, they are very happy. But I think they also feel motivated in a way. You kind of attract their own creativity. And actually, my question is if this is what you want also, or how you kind of trigger the creativity also when you work with the kids, I guess, right?
Yes, but then I don't even particularly think about that when I make my work. But I wonder where I do that. It's really great actually. I didn't know because it's my work, so I don't think like that.
Well, you can see the work as accessible in a way because there is not like a concept that you need to understand to see what you see. You see what you see, and then there is like the beauty of colors and objects, like daily objects that everyone can immediately understand. You don't need to read a complicated exhibition text to get the concept of it. It's really about the experience, and I think this is something right now that a lot of artists in general, I think, are pursuing to create experiences. So, of course, we have been through a period of conceptual art and very complex and demanding artworks. And now I think there's a younger generation that is interested in performance art and creating installations or environments like this also that creates a certain experience, and that there's a low barrier to do that. You enter the space and you have something that your body and perceive, and I think that's something interesting. It's a thesis, it's a conversation. I think people are very happy about that, to have this direct approach to art.
Yeah, and I think especially in this situation, with the pandemic situation, but also with here with the grey winter, and so it's like energy or something which comes out from this exhibition here.
It doesn't mean that the art is not complex if it's not complicated.
Yeah, that's true.
No.
Because there's a huge beauty and complexity in the simplicity. This is, I think, a very, very important thing to say, that if people look at this and think, people think, this could have been done by a child or whatever, this is, of course, not possible, but the idea behind is that there is a certain simplicity that is enormously beautiful, and to reach that is very hard. It's it's not so easy.
Yeah, I think I wanted to kind of unleash this kind of difficult notion, like art is difficult or complicated, or like you said, big texts and stuff. I'm a little bit opposed to that. I guess maybe it became even more stronger when I started to work with kids, and then they just come up with like magical stuff, like funny things, interesting things they don't even know. They didn't have any ideas, but they just make it, and then with colors and stuff, and then voila, like something beautiful comes up. Yeah, I think that's also something. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think this is great. It enables an immediate response, and that doesn't mean that it's not complex. It is very complex, as we just had like 1 hour about that. And we could have talked another hour, but I think now it's maybe the time to say thank you, Chinatsu, for the talk. Arigatou gozaimasu.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
And I guess that's it.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I will now close the live stream on YouTube, but maybe I can go with the mobile Instagram with the exhibition. Just make a short around. So let's make a short tour.
So.
Okay, let's have a look. So now.